तो आप सभी का स्वागत है आज के इस सेमिनार में। ये चौथा व्याख्यान है इस सीरीज का। पिछली बार थोड़ी सी नेटवर्क की दिक्कत और कुछ कहा जाए टेक्निकल प्रॉब्लम के कारण हम सब पूरे समय तक सेमिनार का आयोजन नहीं कर पाए। उन सारी चीजों को हम नेक्स्ट उसमें YouTube चैनल पर डालेंगे ही, जो पिछली बार किया था, और इस बार का पूरा सेमिनार भी हम YouTube चैनल पर डालेंगे, दोनों एक साथ ही डालेंगे। तो हम सर से ही रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं कि सर जो है शुरू करें। सर,
थैंक यू स्वप्निल और वेरी गुड आफ्टरनून टू ऑल ऑफ यू। ये शेयर करने में वो डिसेबल क्यों कर दिया? यस, और मैं अब इसको शेयर करता हूँ। यस, ठीक है, दिखाई दे रहा है? आ गए है?
जी बिल्कुल, एकदम साफ।
हाँ, ठीक है। तो लेट मी स्टार्ट. So I'll recall some of the things which we did last time again. So actually, okay. So before starting, let me again say something about the involutory automorphism of a field a little bit, and then I'll try to do it in a little more general setting. For Hermitian form and symmetric form simultaneously, symmetric biradial form simultaneously. So let F be a field. F be a field. F is be a field. And star an involution. So for us, actually, star is an automorphism of order 2. But even if a star is identity, then also I'll call it to be involution. This case also I'm including. And such an involution will be termed as a trivial one. And then if a star is of order 2, then we shall call it to be non-trivial one. So what is a Hermitian form? So let me first describe this involution, which is a proper involution. That means it is of order 2. So if a star is an involution, if a star is a proper involution, in our terminology, proper involution, then it is an automorphism of order 2. So star belongs to aught of the automorphism field here. So now, so this is automorphism of order 2. So what you do here, so let F naught denote the fixed field. So fixed field of this star. So what is this fixed field of star? This is the set of all elements A belonging to F such that A star is equal to A. So this is a subfield of F. And you know, this star is of order 2, so I'm using a little bit, you can do it directly also, but this is an involution of order 2. So if fixed field is the fixed field of an automorphism of automorphism group of automorphism subgroup of aught F of order 2. So therefore, if we use this a little bit of Galois theory here, so F naught, the F can be considered as a vector space over F naught, and its degree will be 2. So this is actually a more general fact is there. If G is a finite subgroup of the automorphism group of the field F, then and you look at the fixed field here, that is fixed field here, which is those A such belonging to F such that sigma A is equal to A for every A belonging to for every sigma belonging to G, then this is what is called the fixed field of the group G. Then this F naught is a Galois extension of F naught, and indeed this F is to F naught. This degree is the order of G. So this is more general result, but here you can prove separately also. It's a simple case. You can prove it separately also. So that is F naught here, and I wish to say a little bit more here. So this is F naught, which is so now here it is F naught is of order 2. So F is a vector space over F naught of degree 2, dimension 2. So this is F naught 2. Then we also claim here. Okay, so let some B be here in F, which is not in F naught. So then F can be written as F naught plus B F naught into B, because it is of F is of dimension 2 over F naught. So every element can be written as an element of 1 times something. So it can be written as 1 times 1, and B is a basis. Therefore, you see 1 and B is a basis of capital F over F naught. So therefore, any element can be written uniquely as some alpha 1 plus beta B. So now, therefore, if you look into the B square here, so B square here can be written as some A plus alpha B, where B square can again be written as something A plus alpha B here. So that means what is B? B square is a solution of this equation, alpha B minus A equal to 0. And so B can be written as alpha plus under root of something here, alpha square minus 4A, alpha square plus 4A, alpha square plus 4A upon 2 here, 2 here. So this is a solution. So that means if so since this B is not in F, this is not in F, and we take this to be an element here whose square is in F, whose square. So alpha square plus 4B is an element, let me call it to be gamma. So this gamma is an element which is obviously not in F naught, and you see because B was not in F naught, so this and alpha was in F naught. So therefore this element gamma is again an element which is in F but not in F naught, square root here you see, right? So therefore this is but this gamma square is an element of F naught. Gamma square is the element of F naught. So therefore, you can write every element. So every element can be written as A plus gamma B, where A and B belong to F naught, right? And what is your gamma star? Gamma star is square is what? Is equal to gamma square star. And gamma square is already a member of F naught, so this is gamma square. So what is gamma star square? Gamma star is plus minus gamma. I have assumed the field to be of characteristic different from 2. So gamma star is plus minus gamma, right? Just as I square is 1 minus 1. So, and gamma star cannot be gamma because we have already assumed star to be a non-trivial one. So therefore, you see that in this case, your A plus B star, B gamma star is equal to A minus B gamma. A minus B gamma. So that is this. So something like A plus BI goes to A minus BI. So it is just the prototype of the complex case, the conjugation case. So that is there for any arbitrary involution here. So this is more general situation here. So last time we started, we were trying to prove this result. Maybe we can prove that in more general setting, and that is the theorem base. And the proof is exactly same. I mean, there is no loss of, I mean, we can just imitate the same proof. Okay, so, so let F be a Hermitian form for on a vector space V on V, which is of dimension n. Then and characteristic is different from 2 over a field of characteristic different from 2 over a field of characteristic different from 2. So now star can be anything. So if a star is identity, we shall call it to be a symmetric bilinear form. If a star is symmetric, a star is trivial, then naturally Hermitian form is a symmetric bilinear form. Otherwise, it is of this type, this type which you have stated over here. So then there is a basis x1, x2, xn of V such that the matrix of so let me call this to be X here. The matrix of X matrix of F with respect to this basis is a diagonal matrix. So that means this is an orthogonal basis. So this is a diagonal matrix. Is diagonal. That means it is of the type, say, lambda 1, lambda 2. Some of them will be non-zero and some of them may be zero also. So it is a diagonal matrix of this kind. Or this is simply to say that fxi xj is different from is 0 for I different from j, and fxi xi may be non-zero for some of them, which is rank. So if xi is different from 0 for I less than or equal to r, and if xi is equal to 0 for I greater than r, where r represents the rank of the this form, where r represents the rank of this form. So this is the result, and indeed we observed the proof for symmetry, but there is no I mean, we can imitate the same kind of proof here. So again, the proof I'm recalling again. So this is the proof is by dimension. Proof is by induction on the dimension. So the proof is by induction on n, on the dimension n, the dimension of the V. So if dimension n is equal to 1 or 2, there is nothing to do. 0 or 1, nothing to do. So n 0 or 1, nothing to do. So now assume induction hypothesis. Assume induction hypothesis. That is, assume the induction that is it is true for n. And let us suppose that the dimension of V is n plus 1. So we want to prove for n plus 1. So first claim. So let F be a let F be a Hermitian form. Let F be a Hermitian form on V. So F is a Hermitian form on V. So first claim, and if F is 0, there is nothing to do. F is 0 as usual. I mean, I'm just repeating the same proof, but only the Hermitian non-trivial involution take into that also, so that I can just do the unitary group and orthogonal group simultaneously. So if F is 0, nothing to do. So suppose F is not 0. Then claim there exists X, so I'll call it to be X1 different from 0, such that F X1 is different from 0. Naturally, X1 is different from 0. So there exists such an X. So for if not, suppose not. Then there are two cases here. You see that either F may be symmetric, or F may be symmetric bilinear form, or F may be a non-trivial, star may be non-trivial. So in that case, it will be a Hermitian form. So suppose F is Hermitian, proper Hermitian. Suppose F is proper Hermitian form. So suppose F is Hermitian, but not symmetric. but not symmetric. Right? So F is not symmetric. So then, as observed earlier, there exists alpha different from 0 such that every element of F can be written as A plus B alpha, and A plus B star alpha star is equal to A minus B alpha, So this is something which we had already observed. So if it is star is non-trivial, so in that case that is there. So then you see if we have assumed that fxx is 0 for every x. So in particular you see that f, so for this alpha you see you take x plus alpha y comma x plus alpha y, where x and y are members of that vector space. So we have assumed that this is not, that means fxx is 0 for every x. So this is 0 in a way here. So this is 0 means what? This will mean that fxx is 0, fxx is already 0, f alpha y is already 0. So therefore this will be alpha of fyx, right? And plus fx of alpha y. So this is f alpha yx. F alpha yx is alpha fyx. So that is here, and fx alpha y is this is a Susquilinear form. This is a Susquilinear form. So therefore this will be alpha star of fxy. Alpha star of x, and this alpha star is minus alpha, as we have seen here. So this means that alpha of fyx minus fxy is 0 for every xy here. So therefore, and alpha is non-zero, so that means fxy is equal to fyx. So what we have done here, that we have reduced it to the symmetric case. So f becomes symmetric in this case, as you see here. It becomes symmetric, though this is a Susquilinear form, division form, but symmetric binding form, you know, it's already that way symmetric. So fxy is equal to fyx, and if that is the case, then again you apply this here. So fx plus y, x plus y equal to 0, and it is symmetric. So that will mean that this is 2fxy, and therefore fxy. So this will imply that fxy is 0, and so f will be 0. So f will be 0, and that is a contradiction to the assumption that f is non-zero. So then there exists an x which is so therefore there exists an x1 so that fx1 is different from 0. So this is something, and then the rest we have already done, but I will repeat again here. So x1 is non-zero here. So we have an x1, so that x1 is non-zero, and then you look at, as usual, x1, the subspace generated by x1, and look at its orthogonal complement with respect to this f, this Susquilinear form f. So this, which is your y belonging to v, such that fx1y is equal to 0, or fy1 is equal to 0. So then you see, as usual, x1 intersection x1 orthogonal complement is a 0, because fx1 is different from 0, because fx1 is different from 0. If you take any element here, so that this is equal to 0. The intersection is 0, and as before, you can also write every element of x of v as some alpha x1 plus y, where y is an element over here. So therefore this is direct sum. So therefore v is direct sum of x and its orthogonal complement. And you know, f is a Hermitian on x1 this, so it is Hermitian on this also, and you apply induction. F has an orthogonal basis here in this, and that combined with this will form an orthogonal basis for f on v. So this actually proves the result, whether it is Hermitian or whether it is symmetric Beidinger form. So this is so you can always write like this. So every form is of every Hermitian form or symmetric form is like this. So in other words, every Hermitian matrix or symmetric matrix A is congruent to a diagonal matrix. So if A is any Hermitian matrix, A is Hermitian. As a corollary, you can observe it, Hermitian or symmetric. Then A is congruent to a diagonal matrix. So diagonal matrix means you have a congruent, means there is a non-singular matrix P, such that P diagonal matrix. Okay, so I'll write it this way. So there exists a P, there is a non-singular matrix P, such that non-singular matrix P, such that P A P transpose in case it is a symmetric one, and star again here when it is a Hermitian one. Star is non-trivial, then it is this. So this is a diagonal matrix. This is a diagonal matrix. So this can be written a diagonal matrix here. Right now, this is not so. This is something which you have already done for real and complex case. Indeed, every Hermitian matrix or symmetric matrix is similar to a diagonal matrix. Orthogonally similar. ये आप लोगों ने पहले भी किया होगा, लेकिन ये एक हम वो दे रहे हैं purposely. So this is something which is the lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda R 0, where R is the rank of this matrix. So therefore, you know all symmetric, and so you know, so we know, so all symmetric and Hermitian forms on real and complex are classified. I mean, not exactly classified. I mean, we have a canonical form. Actually, such two diagonal such matrix may be congruent, even if two such diagonal matrix for different diagonal matrices may also be congruent. So I wish to make it a little more finer. So that is something which we want to do here. So that way, let me come to this again. This corollary here. So again, the hypothesis under the same hypothesis, maybe a little more. So hypothesis. Suppose also that the square root of every member of F is also in F. So this is closed under quadratic extension. In other words, a square of every member of F is also in F. Then there exists okay, so square of every member of in F, then there exists a basis x1, x2, xr 0, 0, 0 here for some such that the matrix of X with respect to F is you know, here it is 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, right? So that is the case here. If a square of every member is there, so that is very easy to observe because suppose x1, x2, xr. Suppose that x1, x2, xr, or xn I'll write here, or xr plus 1, r is the rank. So xn is an orthogonal basis. So then what you do, you take another basis, yi is equal to 1 upon square root of fxi xi. So I is less than or equal to r. I mean, r is the rank here. So xi here into xi. right? So and for all I greater than, so and then take y j equal to xj for j greater than or equal to r plus 1. So then you obviously see that this satisfies this property. So then this fyi is equal to 1 for I less than or equal to 1, and 0 for, sorry, I less than or equal to r, 0 for r I greater than or equal to r plus 1. So in that case, it is congruent to the, it is in the normal form. So usually this you had been doing in your classes. So this is in the normal form, provided the square root exists. For example, complex numbers, complex field of complex numbers. So not real numbers. Real numbers, square root doesn't exist. So for real case, you see here that we can find out this. So how many classes, equivalence classes of congruence classes of this form will be there? Hermitian, this form will be there. How many of them will be there? So this I am taking to be the symmetric one. So how many of them will be there? So that will be as many non-zero. So R. So R is running from, so therefore that is your n plus 1, right? So that is the Hermitian form. That is the form on this. So now I am coming to right. So if the square root exists now. So now I'm coming to the field, real field, and star is a genuine Hermitian form in case of complex case, in complex case. So now I'm coming to that. So again, let me have this theorem here. So let F be a Hermitian form on so F be a Hermitian form and so let me first do this case for a real case Hermitian form, right? Then I'll do this for say, okay. Sorry. So F is a Hermitian form, or let me first do it for bilinear form, symmetric bilinear form, and recall the proof for Hermitian form also. So symmetric bilinear form, bilinear form. So star is trivial here. Bilinear form, say on R, on a real field, formally real field, so to say, right? So which is an ordered field, so to say, on a real field, such that every positive element has a square root. Positive real field and ordered field, or R. Let me take R itself. So, but it can be done for general setting also. So R, right? On R a formally real field. That means it is an ordered field, so to say, right? Just like such that, so in an ordered field, you have the concept of positive real numbers, and negative real numbers. So such that square root of every positive real number is there, every positive member is there, such that square root of every positive member belongs to the field F. So for example, F is R itself. So if that is the case, then there exists a triple R, P, Q of integers, non-negative integers, not negative integers, and a basis x1, x2, xp plus 1 and xr plus 1, xn, such that if xi is 1 for I less than or equal to p, and if xi is equal to -1 for I in between p plus 1, p plus plus 1 I and less than r, and if xi is equal to 0 for I greater than r. And further, this triple is unique, means if you take any other basis which satisfies this property that it is 1 for certain p and for certain q it is negative, and this r, then pqr is rpq is independent. Rpq, this triple rpq is independent on the choice of such basis, on the choice of such basis. So that is the theorem which is which I wish to so what is this? This is the theorem is that F is a symmetric bilinear form on a formally real field. On a formally real field, so the square root of every positive real number, positive member of F is exist in that field. Then there exists a triple of integers R, P, Q, where P plus Q is naturally R. P plus Q is R. And such that for first P it is 1, fxi is 1, for the next Q it is -1, and for the and afterwards it is 0. So in other words, the matrix representation of F here is this is your 1, 1, 1 positive, -1, -1, -1 Q times, and then 0, 0, 0. And then this P and Q are invariant of that form, that bilinear form. So that is the theorem which is we wish to prove. And PQR, so PQR are invariant. So in other words, how many such symmetric bilinear form over real vector space will be there? So as many triples, P, Q, R, so that P plus Q is equal to R. So if you fix R, the triple P and Q can easily be observed, so that P plus Q is R, maybe it is P plus 1, P plus 2 upon 2, and then run over R into R plus 1 upon 2, and then you can count it. So you can just have, so the complete classification of symmetric bilinear form on R is there. And here itself, I observe that I'm going to give you the proof, but you see here that the proof, if you just look into the proof you can imitate for complex Hermitian form also. So for complex Hermitian form, or for any form here, you know, the diagonal elements for Hermitian form, you observe the diagonal elements are always real numbers. The diagonal elements are always real number. So you have to take, for example, what you have to take is such that, for example, here in C, R is the case, this is your F and this is your F naught. And R is the case such that the star, the fixed field of R, of this has the property that is square root, that is a real, that should be a real field, and whose square root of all positive members has to be there. So if you take that to be the hypothesis, the same thing is true here also. So it is for C also the result is true. You take any Hermitian form such that the Hermitian form of a complex number, then also this result is true, because you know, for real the complex that you see in more general setting, you can simply say that if you take a star to be such, a star is an involution such that the fixed field has the property, it's a formally real field, and with the property that is square root of every positive positive member of F naught. It's an ordered field, so you can talk of positive and negative. So square root of every member is here. So in that case, we have this, and this RPQ is independent. So you can just have. So the proof I'm giving for R, but you can just imitate the proof. I mean, I'll observe this all the time. So that is that is the. So I'm coming to the proof of this fact. So already the theorem by the theorem, the field is of characteristic different from 2. So you have this x1, x2, xr and xr plus 1 xn such that fxi. So some of them will be positive, some of them will be negative. So you can have x1 xi is greater than 0 for I less than or equal to p. If xi is less than 0 for I greater than or equal to p plus 1 less than or equal to I less than or equal to r, and if xi is 0 for I greater than r. So that is the situation here, and then you have this. Yes, so yes, so that is there. So then what you can do here, that you take yi to be xi upon square root of the modulus of fxi. Sometimes it may be negative also, and it may be positive also. And then you see that y1, y2, yr, yp plus 1 and so on. And for other greater than r, I take it to be yi to be xi itself. So r and xr plus 1, so on. So you take this to be the field, and this has the property. This has the property that the matrix of this, you see, fyi will be what? xi, and this is a symmetric one. This is a symmetric form. You see here. This is a symmetric form, right? So that, and if you are in complex case, in the Hermitian case, then you take this mod here, right? Maybe you have to take this mod here. Here also you can take mod, and the proof will go as for Hermitian form also. So that is there, because you know that fxi is already real. It's already real. If it's a Hermitian form, so that is a real. So we are in real case. So this is there. So we have such a basis for which the matrix is a diagonal matrix. Some of them is positive, p of them is positive, and q of them, r is p plus q. So q of them is negative, and then the rest of them are 0. And so such a thing exists. Now we have just to prove that this p, q, r are invariant. If you take any other such basis for which some of them is positive, some of them is negative, then the PQ will be the same, R, right? So finally, the uniqueness of R and P, uniqueness of the triple R, P, Q. So this is what we want to prove. So already you know R represents the rank of F. So this is not going to change in any matrix representation. R is not going to change. So R is the invariant. Only thing you have to look into the this y1, y2, r. So suppose, so here is your y1, y2, yp. So yp plus 1. And yp plus q equal to yr, and then yr plus 1 and yn here. So this is the basis, and let us take another basis here. Z1, Z2, Zp dash. So maybe here it is p dash, and Zp dash plus 1 and so on. But here you see Zp dash plus q dash has to be r. So this is P dash plus Q dash is R, and then this is ZR plus 1 and Zn, because this R is the rank. So this is actually fixed. All that you have to observe is that P is equal to P dash, and then obviously R minus P will be the same thing as R minus P dash. So all that we have to say, all that we have to prove is that P is equal to P dash. So to prove that P is equal to P dash, so this is what we want to prove here. Right. So for that, what we do, this is the usual method normally in linear algebra. You must have seen somewhere. So what you do here, you take, for example, some kind of this kind of argument is also taken to prove that the number of elements in two bases are same. So that is the kind of thing here. So Z1, Z2, Zp dash you take here, Zp dash you take here, and you add y plus p plus 1 and yp plus q and yr plus 1 and so on. Here you just add. So look at this. So if somehow, if we are able to prove that this is linearly independent, then obviously this p dash will be less than or equal to p, right? If we prove, if we show, we are able to show that this say Z here, this Z is linearly independent, then the number of element here has to be less than the dimension, which is your n here, which is your p plus q plus I mean here. So then what will happen? This will simply mean that a p dash is less than or equal to p. So this is linearly independent, then naturally p dash has to be less than or equal to p. And similarly, dually, if you replace this here, yp, y1, y2, yp, and look at zp dash plus this, do the same, interchange the road here, then you will see that p is less than or equal to p dash, and p will become p dash. So that is the way we are proving this result. So this is something which is linearly independent. So how to prove this? This is linearly independent. It's a very elementary thing. Suppose, so we prove that this is linearly independent. So suppose that alpha 1 Z1 plus alpha p Zp dash plus alpha p plus 1 yp plus 1 p plus 1 plus so on plus y r alpha r yr plus these things equal to 0. Then we have to prove that each coefficient is 0. So I'm putting it like this. You take this element to be something, say x, and take this element after this up to this. Let us take that to be y, and the rest you take to be z here. So this is x plus y plus z is equal to 0 here, right? Now see here, you apply f on this. So what is fxx? What is fxx? Fxx is f of this, and you see that f zi is positive. F zi is positive. Am I right? F zi is positive, right? It was 1, right? So f zi is positive. So if you apply f of this, so what is fxx? Xxx is greater than or equal to 0, and similarly yes, and this is zp plus none. So now for this you see for this you see yp plus 1 etc. F yi was minus 1, so therefore for this it will be negative. So f yy will be negative, less than or equal to 0. And what about this z plus 1 here, the latter one? So this is in the null space here. You see, this is in the null space because it is orthogonal to each member here. So this is indeed what one calls to be the annihilator, or so to say. So that is 0 here. So therefore, right. So fx of so you take this x plus y plus z is equal to 0. So therefore 0 will be equal to f of x plus y plus z equal to 0. So this will be fxx, right? Fxx plus fxy And since fxz, z is such that it is orthogonal, it is orthogonal to every member of the vector space. So this is 0. So this is fx plus, and similarly, if you take y here, so you will be getting fyx plus y plus z. This is also equal to fyy, right? Y plus fyx, right? And so these two are equal in a way, right? And if you are in symmetric case, so observe, so let me argue it for complex case also. The proof goes the same way. So far, it was all right. So fxx plus, so these two are equal. These two are equal, right? These two are equal, and fxy is equal to fyx if it is symmetric. If it is symmetric, fxy is equal to fyx. So what will that mean? That will mean that fxx is equal to fyy. These two are same because we are in symmetric case. Now, suppose we are in Hermitian case. Suppose we are in Hermitian case. So what is this? This 0 is a real one. This is a 0. This is 0, which is in F0. And fxx star is fxx. So this is also the real case. Fx star, this is also real case. So therefore, fxy is also real case. So fxy star is fxy. That is, and since it is Hermitian, fyx star is fxy. Right? Fyx is what? Fxy star, because it is a Hermitian case. So Hermitian, if you are in the Hermitian case, then by the definition of Hermitian case, fxy is star here. But fxy is already real, so this is equal to this. So therefore, you see that in that case also fxy is equal to fyx, and so this fxx is equal to fyx in any case, right? Whether we are in Hermitian complex case or in a real case. So fxx is equal to fyy. And you see that fxx was greater than or equal to 0, and fyy was also greater than or equal to 0, was less than or equal to 0. So both of them are equal, means both of them are 0. Now, once both of them are 0 here, what will happen? F z1 etc. f1 square. So what will that imply? That alpha 1 square is also 0, alpha 2 square is 0, alpha p square is also 0. So that means that is p dash is also 0. So these alpha I up to p dash, that is 0. Right, so that is 0, and similarly this is also 0 because fyy is also 0. So therefore, you see that all coefficients are 0, and then the rest, because that was a basis already, so that is also 0. That all the coefficients are 0. So that means this is linearly independent. So therefore, you see that p dash is less than or equal to p. And dually, you see that similarly p is also less than or equal to p dash. So p is equal to p dash. So therefore, you see that this result is what is called Sylvester's law of inertia. ये आप लोगों ने पढ़ा ही होगा, Sylvester's law of inertia. I hope it is clear. Is it? कोई प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं? हेलो,
हाँ सही है सर, ओके।
कोई डिफिकल्टी हो या कोई चीज हो, कोई चीज बीच में ऑब्जर्व करना कुछ चाहते हो तो आप बता दीजिए। दिस इज सिल्वेस्टर्स लॉ ऑफ इनर्शिया, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, एंड आई हैव प्रूव्ड फॉर कॉम्प्लेक्स हर्मिशियन केस आल्सो। ये चीज ऑब्जर्व कीजिए, कॉम्प्लेक्स हर्मिशियन केस आल्सो। हम रियल ऑर्थोगोनल और यूनिटी दोनों साथ साथ लेकर चलेंगे। तो आई होप यू आर क्लियर अबाउट इट, सिल्वेस्टर्स लॉ of inertia, P and Q, and this PQ is called signature of the form. This PQ is called the signature of the form. Okay, so that is so in a way, how many forms, such forms will be there? As many such triples R, P, Q, where R is of course less than or equal to N, and P plus Q is equal to R. So if you fix R, then this will be R into R plus 1 upon 2, and right, yeah, R plus 1 upon 2. एक किया, फिर दूसरा किया, तीसरा किया, R plus 1 upon 2, R plus 1 upon 2, and then sum it up. So that is completely classified here, as you know. right? Now,
So,
I'm
sir, I have a question. So, what
Yes.
is the significance of this tuple P and Q?
Yes.
So, what is the significance? I mean, why just you are calling that this tuple is called signature
Huh.
of. So, what is the significance of this tuple? I mean, where we will use this?
Well, now you see that this simply says that P actually says that on which part the form is positive definite. Q is, says about the dimension of the subspace on which it is negative definite, and the rest one is the null space here. So positive definite, so it's called positive definite and a negative definite, and you know positive definite geometry is you know, I'm coming to the case of positive definite. So that is, and this is invariant. PQ is invariant. So for example, you have a matrix of the type you know, you can have -1 here, 1 1 1 1 1 rest of the time. This is the Lorentzian case. 1 1 1 1 1 1 is the Euclidean case. This is the Euclidean case here, right? And if you just take -1 1 1 positive for certain P and certain Q, then you can see that the geometry is a little different one. There is it is not that kind of geometry. You just take its orthogonal complement of this, and then it will be the usual geometry. So yeah, it has something to do with the geometry, and the signature also has to do with the same thing.
Okay. Okay.
So maybe signature will come again, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So that is the situation. So now I'll restrict myself to ourselves to the positive definite case. So so right now for some time we'll restrict to the positive definite case. So in that case, this your R is your N, right? And P plus Q. So P is also your N and Q is 0. So if that is the case, how the form looks like? The form is, the matrix is of the type your 1 1 1 1 1 1 here in real case, right? So positive definite, and in complex case also, 1 1 1 1 here. So what is fxy here in this case? Fxy will be what? Fxy will be what? The basis, you have x1 x2 xn here. So what x is alpha 1 x1 alpha 2 x2 and so on. So what will be the fxy here? Fxy here will be simply alpha 1 beta 1 plus alpha 2 beta 2 plus alpha n beta n, where what are alpha I beta i's? So where x is your sigma alpha I xi, and y is what? Y is your sigma beta I yi. So in that case, this is the fxy, right? X is sigma alpha I xi. So fxi is 1. Fxi xa is, sorry, beta I xi here. Beta I xi here. So if you just identify with the usual f to the power n, which is your r to the power n, rc to the power n, c to the power n, then see, okay, so if you are in sustilinear case, if you are in Hermitian case, then this will be bar, beta 1 beta bar. So what is this? So you see that this fxy is the inner product, like Euclidean inner product. So let me say here, so thus if f is so a non-degenerate a positive definite symmetric bilinear form is unique up to equivalence, and that is given over here. And how it is given here? If you take fr to the power n, then you take x bar any vector which is your x1 x2 xn here, and y bar is your y1 y2 yn here. Then the inner product x bar y bar, which is your fxy, is your sigma xi yi. So this is the usual Euclidean inner product. So this is the inner product. use your inner product. So there is a unique thing here, and in complex case here, you see that this will be sigma xi yi bar. So therefore, this you can write as the vector x into y vector as a transpose, and this you can write as x bar y bar y bar star, means star transpose. So that is the, and this is the this is your unitary product, or what we call. So Rn with this is called the Euclidean space. Rn with this is called the Euclidean space, and Cn with this Hermitian inner product, the positive Hermitian product. दोनों का notation हम एक ले रहे हैं. So that is called unitary space. This is your unitary space. Unitary space. Unitary space or complex unitary case. So this is Euclidean space case, and this is your unitary case. So now in this case, what are our classical groups? The classical groups are what? So I'm coming to the orthogonal group and unitary group. So now the form is this: fxy is given by sigma xi yi, which is your x bar y bar transpose, and unitary case it is this. So what is so the group which is invariant, which keeps this form invariant, is what? That is our ON, जिसको मैं लिख रहा हूँ, ये already आप करते ही रहे इस ON. So what is this? This is your A belonging to G and R, such that fxy means x bar A and y bar A transpose is equal to, the inner product is preserved, so that is x bar y bar transpose for every x bar y bar belonging to Rn. So this is the so that is ON is A, the matrix A, such that x bar A transpose y bar transpose is equal to x bar y bar transpose. This is for every x bar y bar. You see here. So this is for every x bar y bar here. And if it is true for every x bar y bar, then I say that this is identity matrix. That is very clear. This is equivalent to say that A such that okay. So what does it mean? This is for every y. This is for every y. And you see that x bar A transpose is also a vector, right? X bar A is a vector, it's a row vector, and it's multiplied by A transpose is again a vector, and it's y bar transpose is x bar y bar transpose for every y. This is there for every y, then that will mean that x bar A transpose is equal to x bar for every x, right? The form is non-degenerate. So x bar A transpose is for every x, and this simply means that A transpose is identity. A transpose is identity, and that means also A transpose A is also identity. So this is the group which you had already been. So it's the same group, orthogonal group, which keeps the Euclidean form invariant. And similarly, you have the unitary. So this is called orthogonal group. So this is a subgroup. ON is a subgroup. So I'll say something about this right now, and then we'll go further. GL and R. So this is your orthogonal group. So what is orthogonal group? So let me make it a little more clear. So what is orthogonal group? So orthogonal group is those matrices A such that A transpose is identity. So if you write is as R1 bar, R2 bar. So suppose you take Rn bar here. So what is this matrix? This matrix is A, whose first row is R1 vector, second row is R2 vector, and so on. So if you take A transpose, what will be the ith row, jth column? What will be the ith row, jth column? This will be Ri bar Rj transpose. This is the matrix, and it is identity. Identity means the row vectors are orthonormal set of vectors. They are orthogonal to each one of them differently, and they are unit vectors. So that is the criteria for A to be an orthogonal matrix. And the same is the for column. So if you write A as column, C1 column vector, so C1 bar transpose, and this C1 can be taken as a row vector, C and bar transpose. This is a column. So then this C1 bar transpose, these are also orthogonal. That means C1 and so columns are also orthogonal and rows are also orthogonal. So I'll come to the example here and maybe something. Right, so that is an orthogonal group. Orthogonal group. So I'll say a few words about orthogonal group and then proceed orthogonal group. So what is an orthogonal matrix? Orthogonal matrix is a matrix such that the rows form an orthonormal set and are equivalently column forms an orthonormal set, because A transpose is identity and A transpose A is also identity. So the same thing holds for the transpose also. So that is an orthogonal matrix here. So this matrix has the property that it takes orthonormal set to the orthonormal set. Right. So its geometry, I'll talk about the geometry of orthogonal transformation a little bit, which is an important thing to do. So orthogonal matrices here. This is the orthogonal. So let me say something more about the orthogonal group first. And so first again, just as in GNN case, what is the property of this orthogonal group? So that is what we want to first study a little bit. So what is orthogonal group? So orthogonal group is the group of orthogonal matrices where A transpose is identity. So if you take, you have the determinant map here also. So what is the determinant of an orthogonal matrix? See, if A transpose is identity, then determinant of A into determinant of A transpose, which is the same thing as determinant A, square is determinant of identity, which is 1. So determinant A is 1 or minus 1. So this is your Z2, 1, minus 1. And this is surjective because if you take the diagonal matrix minus 1, 1, 1, 0, then that's determinant is minus 1. So this is also, and what is its kernel? The kernel is, again, we call it to be the special orthogonal group, and this is also there. So this is again an exact sequence. And as before, you see that ON is, this is also a split exact sequence. ON is isomorphic to the semi-direct product SON, this thing. Z2, this group is Z2, right? So this is orthogonal group, right? I want to say some properties of orthogonal group. Algebraic property first, and then I'll say something about the metric property of this ON. So algebraic property, let me say something about this. I'll describe it in detail. This is something which is very important. So ON is ON. So first of all, let me make some simple observation. So what is P and R? Remember, P and R, P and F I described this. These are the permutation matrices. Recall, these are permutation matrices, right? So what was these? This was the group of all permutation matrices, and this had the property that in each row one appears once and only once, and one appears in each column only once and only once. So this is your P and R, the P and R. And I say that this is a subgroup of ON. That is very clear, right? Because you see here that if you take a matrix, for example, I'll explain here, you can immediately see. You see, so for example, if you take 1, 1, 0, 0 here and permute the thing, then what will happen? 0, 1, 1, 0. That is the that is this. So if you take a transposition, in other words, I say that you take a transposition ij, interchange ith row to jth row, or interchange the ith column to the jth column. It's a transpose is the same. It's a transpose is the same, and its square is identity. Its transpose is the same, M transpose. It's see, rows और columns को interchange कीजिए, जैसे rows को भी interchange कर दीजिए, इसके column को interchange कीजिए तो भी यही आएगा, और column को interchange कीजिए तो भी यही आएगा. So therefore, you see that its transpose is the same. M transpose is identity, and it is square is identity because it's a transpose. So it's square is identity, right? So this is M transpose is an orthogonal matrix. This is a member of ON, right? And if M transpose, and then any permutation matrix, MP is what? This can be written as M tau 1, tau 2, tau R. So what is its transpose? Its transpose will be M tau R transpose and M tau 1 transpose, right? So transpose just reverses it. So if you multiply this thing with M tau 1, tau 2, tau R, because of this property, you see that is identity. So all permutation matrices are orthogonal matrices. That is very clear, I suppose, right? Is it okay? So, right?
Fine, sir. Fine.
Okay. So permutation matrices P and R is a subgroup of O and R. It was a subgroup of G and R, and it has something to do with the structure of G and R. So this is also a subgroup of R, the permutation matrices that is already there. And what are the diagonal matrices which are orthogonal matrices? What are diagonal matrices which are orthogonal matrices? So diagonal matrix, if you diagonal matrix D and R intersection with O n, if you take here, then what is that? That is your plus minus. So that will be the matrices of the type plus minus 1, plus minus 1, plus minus 1, because it's a transpose has to be 1, right? So this is your indeed Z2 to the power n. So this is your the diagonal matrix, right? And I wish to say something more about this here. So that is PNR, and this is the diagram. So what is its center? So center also, let me say something. Center. Incidentally, I'll just try to describe OSON more explicitly, and then ON will be described. But anyway, let me say something about O here also. So what is center of ON? Let me talk about the center of ON. So what will be center of ON? The orthogonal matrices has to commute with all permutation matrices, or so to say the the matrices which are coming from the transposition, right? So if so, for example, let us consider this example here. Here, if you take A, B, C, D here, and suppose it commutes with the transposition matrix, transpose matrix, this one, and this is your A, B, C, D, and 0, 1, 1, 0, right? So you see, any transposition matrix will be like this in ith row and in jth columns. So in ith row, jth column, in I here it will be 1, and here it will be here again it will be 1, and the ith row will be 0, ij will be 1, ji will be 1, and I will be 0, jj will be 0. That is the ij case, no? M ta ij. M ta ij clear, hai na? M of the matrix of the permutation ij is what? It is everywhere 1, 1, 1, 1. In ith row, jth column, it is 1. In the jth row, ith column, it is 1. And the ith row, it is 0. Jth row, it is 0. And the rest of the diagonal entries are 1. So that is the kind of thing. So it is something like this. You can easily observe here. So therefore, what will be this? So if that is the case, you easily observe here that A is equal to D. And B is equal to C, right? A is equal to D and B is equal to C. So the diagonal entries are same, and it is a symmetric matrix. And you just make it commutative. So here is your A, B is here, and make it suppose -1, 0, 0, 1. So this is an orthogonal matrix. So so look at. So in that case, you will see that B is minus B. So B is minus B. That means B is 0. So this is a diagonal matrix. So therefore, this is also a diagonal matrix, as you see, right? So what is the center here? What will be the center here? The center of ONR is a diagonal matrix, are the members of the diagonal matrices, right? So that is the center which we have described here. So what is center of ONR? ON, that is your plus minus 1, plus minus 1, and plus minus 1. Sorry, diagonal matrix, scalar matrix. A is here. So this is wrong. This is wrong, right? So this is your identity and minus identity, right? Is it okay? Okay. So center of ON is identity and minus identity. So center is described. Now, what about SON, the center of SON? I say that be clever to say that if n is greater than or equal to 3, it will be simply the center of ON, that is scalar matrices intersection with SON. You see, the minus identity has its determinant -1 to the power n. So therefore, if n is even, it will be identity minus identity, and if n is odd, it will be simply identity, because that will not belong to SON. That will not belong to SON. So that is so center of SON is what? Center of SON is. So I'm assuming here to be n to be greater than or equal to 3, because you see here that here you don't have choice for 2. If the determinant becomes -1, how to make it 1? So by choice here, that is not possible. So you have to be clever enough. For n greater than or equal to 3, you can do. And you see that I'm coming to SO2. SO2, it is so SO2. I'll come to SOT. So center of SON is what? Center of SON is identity for n equal to n odd, and it is identity minus identity if it is n is even. So that is the center, right? So let me say something here again for smaller, and I'll completely classify the things. So now come to the first SO2 here. So let us take this O2 and SO2. So O2 and SO2, O2 and SO2. So what is SO2? SO2 is simply what? It is the matrix of the type A, B, C, D. And it is an orthonormal set. It has to be an orthonormal set. So therefore, it is the rows has to be orthonormal. So A square plus B square is 1. C square plus D square is 1. And AB minus BC is 1. So that is the, so you see A square plus B square is 1. So you can always put A to be cos theta. Right? A is equal to cos theta, B is equal to plus minus sine theta, and the condition that you have to take AD minus BC is equal to 1. So this you can easily see that this is your, for some theta it will be cos theta, sine theta, and minus sine theta, cos theta. So ये तो आप जानते ही हैं. This represents the rotation. If you take xy goes to xy cos theta, this matrix. So that is the rotation of the through an angle theta. So SO2 is simply a rotation, right? Otherwise, if you take this to be cos theta, sine theta, the determinant minus cos theta. So otherwise, if it is not, determinant is not -1, then this will turn out to be minus cos theta. You can simply do that minus sine theta, and cos theta. So the determinant of this will be -1. The determinant of this is -1, and this is a this is a reflection. This is, I'll talk of the reflection more seriously little later. So that is a reflection. So every member of O2 is either a rotation or it is a reflection about certain axis. Find out इसके लिए निकालिए शायद θ/2 के लिए ये rotation. This is a rotation. Find out the axis of the rotation here. So this is a reflection, O2 and SO2. SO2 is an abelian group. SO2 is an abelian group here, and so it's a center. It's a center this itself. So ये थोड़ा सा अलग है for here. So that is the SO2. So quickly I'll describe SO3 also, and then I'll go to the general case. So O3 and SO3. So let me describe SO3 and then O3 also. SO3. So you see SO3 together with a reflection really gives you the whole ON. Right? SON together with the reflections give you the whole ON. इसके हम बहुत अच्छी तरीके से बताना चाहेंगे. This is an important thing. So SO3. So what is SO3? So SO3 is a 3x3 matrix, and A transpose is identity, and the determinant is also identity. Determinant of A is also identity. So then you see here that if you take A to be such a matrix, 3x3 matrix with this property, A transpose is identity, then what is, so let us look at its, okay, now I'm using a little bit of linear algebra. So eigen values, etc. So A minus identity, look at A transpose. Yeah, A transpose. And look at its determinant. Look at its determinant. Determinant of A into A transpose is what? So this is the determinant of, okay, so determinant of A minus identity is equal to determinant of A minus identity into determinant of A transpose. Because determinant of A transpose will be 1, because A is in SO3, so determinant is 1, so its determinant is 1 here. So therefore this is equal to this. So this is determinant of A minus identity into A transpose. And what is this? This is determinant of A transpose is identity. So that is A identity minus A transpose. So what is this? This is a determinant of identity minus A whole transpose. Identity minus A ka transpose. This is identity minus transpose, means that, which is the same thing as determinant of I minus A. And you see here, this is 3x3 matrix, which is negative of this. So what will be this? This will be minus 1 to the power 3. That is minus 1, determinant of A minus identity. So what is this? So this means the determinant of A minus identity is 0. Determinant of A minus identity is 0, that way, right? So determinant of A minus identity is so determinant of A minus identity is minus of determinant of A minus identity. That means determinant of A is 0. So that means 1 is an eigenvalue. So this means you see, that means if you don't know, remember, A minus I is a singular matrix. So it's a singular matrix, means there is X bar, so that X bar A minus identity is 0. This is a singular matrix because they might determinant of A minus identity 0. So it's a singular matrix. So the A bar, X bar into A minus I is 0. So that means X bar A is equal to X bar, right? So, and X bar is different from 0. You see, X bar is different from 0, right? Because A minus I is a singular matrix. So there is a non-zero vector A, X such that A minus I is 0. I can take X bar to be a unit vector also. That is better because ON में ही रहना चाहेंगे, तो X bar I can take to be unit vector also. So X bar A is X bar, right? So X bar is a unit vector, and look at the, it's an orthogonal complement here. Orthogonal complement in the Euclidean R3 space, R3 in the R3 space, Euclidean space R3 here. So this is also invariant under A. If something is in, you see, orthogonal matrix takes orthogonal vectors to the orthogonal vector. So therefore, it will take this to this itself. If Y is here, then Y will be orthogonal to X. So therefore, X bar A will also be orthogonal to X bar A, and that means this is and X bar A is X bar. So therefore, you see, so this is a solid space of R3. And what is its dimension? Its dimension is 2. So therefore, its dimension is 2. So it will be generated by 2 vectors. We can take to be YZ, and YZ is what? YZ also I can take to be orthogonal, orthonormal. In plane, you can always take 2 orthonormal set of vectors, right? Which generate maybe E1 and E2. I mean, you don't know about this space. It is orthogonal. So something like you have in R3 here, and you have so orthogonal to this. So you can take 2 vectors here which are orthogonal here. So YZ is here. So therefore, what will be Y bar A? Y bar A will be a linear combination of YZ. So that is alpha Y plus beta Z, and Z bar A is also equal to some gamma Y bar plus gamma delta Z bar, right? And you know, again, use the property of orthogonality of this A here, that A is an orthogonal matrix and determinant is 1. You can easily see that alpha square plus beta square is 1, and the same thing as for SO2. So this is indeed a member of SO2. So you can have this as X bar, and it is a rotation. So alpha can be taken to be cos theta. and beta can be taken to be sine theta for some theta, and gamma is your minus sine theta, and delta is sine theta, because the determinant is 1, and so it is its matrix with respect to this basis is 1 cos theta sine theta minus sine theta cos theta. So that is the thing here, right? So this is something which you obtain here for the members of SO3, and of course for O3 you have a reflection also, so maybe you can have this minus minus 1 over here, or you can just take this to be minus cos theta minus cos theta sine theta, which is indeed equivalent to the minus 1 case, which is similar to that one. So therefore this is either this is a rotation which is obviously okay. So this is your the members. So the members of SO3 are what? They can be characterized by the property that they are rotational about certain axis. Every member of SO3 is a rotation about an axis. You have an axis which is an eigenvector corresponding to that matrix, and you have rotation through an angle theta. So that is the SO3, and so SO3 is also described here. And here you see that x bar, y bar, z bar, they were all orthonormal set of vectors. So in other words, what we have done here is that in SO3, every member is conjugate to such a matrix. Every member is conjugate to such a matrix, right? So this gives you a conjugacy. So how will you describe the conjugacy class? So the conjugacy class you can describe like this: 1 0 0 0 0 0 here, and you can take cos theta 1 sine theta 1 minus sine theta 1 cos theta 1 here, and theta 1 lies theta lies between 0 and pi, right? So to every theta you have such a matrix, and every matrix is conjugate to such a matrix. So the conjugacy class of SO3 you can describe like this. That is the conjugacy class of SO3. Right? So SO3 has this conjugacy class. So and what about O3? There is one more class, which is your -1 1 1. Every orthogonal matrix which determines -1 will be similar to that, will be conjugate to that. So I'll do this in more general setting. So that is this, right? So incidentally, okay, you three I'll describe maybe. Okay, so that is there. Okay, so ठीक है स्वप्निल, ठीक है? Hello, is it okay?
Yes sir.
Okay.
जी
ठीक है, तो चलिए फिर ये SO3 का concrete description, and ON के बारे में बताया. PNR is contained here, some diagonal matrix is contained here, and PNR into the diagonal matrix अभी इसके हम corresponding to N अभी आना है हमको, वो आएंगे बाद में. चलिए खैर, तो this is there. तो अब इसको थोड़ा सा और general setting में हम कर रहे हैं for arbitrary. So I'm putting this theorem here. Oh, so let me describe reflections also. So little bit reflections. What are reflections here? So Rn is here, and what is it? So a hyperplane. So reflection is always assigned to a hyperplane. There is a hyperplane. So what is the hyperplane? Hyperplane is a subspace of dimension n-1. So a hyperplane of Rn is n-1. So if you take a hyperplane here, then hyperplane will have an orthonormal basis. So something, let me here, so it has a basis x2. ये इंटरनेट इज अनस्टेबल, अभी ठीक हुआ कि नहीं हुआ? जा रहा है, ठीक है?
यस सर, ठीक है ठीक है।
हाँ, ये यहाँ इंटरनेट अनस्टेबल बोलने लगा, तुम घबरा गए। तो चलिए खैर, तो x2, x3, xn. So take a orthonormal basis. In Rn, you can always choose axes which are orthonormal. So choose an x2, xn to be orthonormal, and this you can embed into an orthogonal basis. So if you look into the p orthogonal complement, then p orthogonal complement is just one-dimensional vector space. P orthogonal complement is one-dimensional vector space. It is generated by one element. It is generated by one element here. X here, and if you restrict x to have the unit vector, x to be unit vector, then there are only two choices here. If you embed it into orthonormal, you have two choices, x bar and minus x bar, right? So P can be described to be described by a vector x bar. So to P, there is a vector x bar which is not unique, but unique up to a sign y belonging to Rn, such that the y is orthogonal to x bar. So this is P any, and if Px is equal to Py, suppose x and y are such that Px is equal to Py and they are unit vectors. So Py, this will simply mean that x bar and y bar are proportionate, and since they are unit vector, so alpha y bar, they are proportionate. So alpha is equal to plus or minus 1. So given any hyperplane, there are only two unit vectors which are perpendicular to that. So that is what is here, either it is x. So that is Px here, orthogonal vector. That is Px. Okay. So what is a reflection? A reflection. So a reflection is a transformation which fixes a hyperplane, say P, so which will be some x, Px here. I'm putting P, a hyperplane means Px determined by a unit vector x bar plus minus 1 के sign के साथ. So hyperplane fixes Px and takes, so x bar इधर है तो उसको minus x कर दें और minus x को इधर x कर दें, and take, so a reflection sigma is a transformation which fixes x bar, which fixes the hyperplane पे वही है, and then it reflects the orthogonal vectors and reflects x bar too, and sigma of x bar is equal to minus x bar. Sigma of alpha x bar is equal to minus alpha x bar. So it is a reflection. If you have any plane here, then it fixes this and it takes this to this, any vector here to this minus x. So that is a reflection. So for corresponding to x, what will be a reflection? So let me write here what is your Rn. Rn can be written as Px is how will you write Px? So that will be a member of alpha x plus y, where y is orthogonal to x. Y is in Px. Y is in Px. The in the hyperplane determined by this unit vector. So Rn is so any element x bar is of any element say z bar is what is alpha x bar plus this this thing. So this sigma will take z to what? Sigma z will be what? This will be minus alpha x, right? And plus y. So if sigma is a transformation which fixes the hyperplane y is in the hyperplane, so it will take y to y and x to minus x. So sigma z is this, right? So that is the sigma z, right? So sigma z is this. So what is this y bar? Y bar is equal to z bar minus alpha x bar. Z bar minus alpha x bar, right? And then to compute z bar, you take its inner product with x. So take zx here, z is given here, zx is here. So what will be this equal to? X is a unit vector. So plus this is your 0 here. 0 here. Alpha is 0 here, right? So alpha is what? Alpha is minus. So you just substitute it here. So you'll be getting that sigma z is equal to z bar minus 2zx x bar, where x bar is a unit vector, So this is this, and this is a transformation which I am writing down. It's called sigma x. Sigma x is, so for every x unit vector, you have a transformation which takes z to z bar minus 2zx. Zx means it's the inner product, and x bar. So this is a reflection. This is a reflection determined by this x. This is a reflection about the hyperplane determined by this x, right? So if you take z to be x here, then this x bar minus 2xx bar. So therefore that will be minus x bar, right? And if you take z to be in the orthogonal complement, then that this will be fixed. This will be z bar here, because this will be 0 if it is in the orthogonal complement. So this is this. Or if you, for arbitrary x, you can take its log. So that is a sigma x bar. Now I take it as an exercise. You do it. You can easily observe it. So what is this sigma x? Sigma x is a mapping from Rn to Rn, and observe that this sigma x belongs to On, and the determinant of sigma x is -1. So this is a reflection about the hyperplane determined by x. And rotation we had already seen. What will be its matrix representation with respect to a basis, which is your x and yz. So what will be its matrix? So if matrix sigma x will be what? Sigma x, the x bar, y bar, z bar. If you take a basis, x bar, which is this x bar, and y bar, z bar is in px in 3 cases. So suppose in 3 cases I'm n equal to 3. In general, I'll come here. So x bar, z bar. So what will be sigma x bar in that case? If you just x bar goes to -1, so this is -1, and here it is simply again cos theta, sin theta, minus sin theta, cos theta. So every reflection has this, say, sigma x. Just write down, and you will be getting A, B, C, so on. So this is the this is a reflection, right? So I'm sorry. So I just state a theorem, and I should give some time for you also. So I just state a theorem for general orthogonal group. So for general orthogonal matrices. So I'll just show that if A is in On, then A is just composition of certain reflections, certain say R times reflection, and certain rotations about 2 planes. So these are 2 planes, P1, P2, P say T here, rotations about planes. So these are 2-dimensional spaces which are all orthogonal. So these are orthogonal, and this is a W space which is orthogonal, and A restricted to W orthogonal. W is an orthogonal matrix which is pure, basically composition of reflections. Maybe I put it more. It is -1. It is a reflection together with rotation. So some reflections, some and rotation. You see, the composition of 2 reflections is the rotation that we will see. So A is like this. So iska proper statement hum next time देंगे. I'm sorry I have taken extra time, right? 5 minutes ज़्यादा. Yeah. आप लोग कुछ पूछिए कि मैं समय तो पूरा मैंने ही ले लिया.
So sir, I have a question.
Yes.
So about nice lecture, sir. And Sir, very nice lecture, sir. Today's lecture was very good. And sir, just want to know that the representations of this ON or GLNF or this SLNF. So from where you are following? I mean, from which book you are following? Just wanted to know.
Representations of ON, SON, etc. Right. So this to some extent you will find a little bit in Algebra 4, but not all. And then Fulton and Harris is there. So there you can find the representations of this. So I'll describe the representations of these groups fully. For example, concretely, for example, SU2, SO2, SO3, they have some geometric nature representation. So I'll describe it completely. And for lower case, it is simply spherical harmonics. आप लोगों ने शायद पढ़ा होगा MSc में spherical harmonics. Spherical harmonics अगर आपने पढ़ा होगा तो वो it amounts to that. तो हम इसको वो करेंगे, बताएंगे. फुलटन इज अ गुड प्लेस, या फिर कोई अच्छी सी कोई ली ग्रुप्स की भी किताब है तो ली ग्रुप्स में देख सकते हैं आप. कुछ किताबें हैं ली ग्रुप्स की, उसमें देख सकते हैं. और बहुत अच्छी किताब है, थोड़ी सी मेहनत करने की बात होगी क्योंकि वो थोड़ा that is written by a mastermind and that is your एडम्स की किताब है, एडम्स. तो and the representation will depend on these conjugacy classes. आप लोगों ने देखा होगा कि representation characters जो हैं और ये conjugacy classes पर ही डिपेंड करते हैं. अगर representation theory का थोड़ा सा आपने बेसिक कोर्स पढ़ा है तो वो conjugacy class पर डिपेंड करते हैं. और ये जो cos थीटा sin थीटा रोटेशंस हैं 2x2 मैट्रिसेस का साथ साथ अगर आप एक पैच कर दे तो it comes out to be some kind of S1 plus S1 plus S1 which is your torus. और torus का representation बहुत it's an abelian group. इसके रिप्रेजेंटेशंस बहुत एक्सप्लिसिट हैं और फिर इसी से इंड्यूस करते हैं रिप्रेजेंटेशंस को. ये जो सो कॉल्ड ये ग्रुप्स हैं वो जैसे वहाँ इसी के नॉर्मलाइजर्स जो हैं वहाँ जो GLNR में n है उसी का रोल ये प्ले करेगा. तो ये करेंगे. तो फुलटन एंड हैरिस में भी देयर, एडम्स ग्रुप इज देयर and Tom Dick, you can see the representations of compact groups are there. तो ये देख सकते हैं. मैं बिल्कुल कॉन्क्रीटली मैट्रिक्स के टर्म में वो करके करूंगा. हम बहुत ज्यादा एब्स्ट्रैक्ट थ्योरी की तरफ भी नहीं जाएंगे, बट एवरीथिंग विल बी रिफ्लेक्टेड ओवर हियर. सब कुछ यहाँ आ जाएगा.
ओके ओके.
तो ये ठीक है. और कोई क्वेश्चन पूछना हो पूछिए थोड़ा बहुत इसमें.
किसी के सवाल हो तो पूछ सकते हैं. ये
एलिमेंट्री लीनियर अलजेब्रा था. तो अब ON और UN पे मैं आऊंगा अभी. SUN ON इसका रिप्रेजेंटेशन और कॉन्क्रीट रिप्रेजेंटेशंस हम देंगे. मतलब ट्राई टू डू कैलकुलेट इट सम पॉलिनोमियल थिंग्स एंड सो ऑन. तो करेंगे
जी. ठीक है. तो बिल्कुल बहुत सारे सवाल तो होंगे हमें लगता है कई लोगों के. तो नेक्स्ट टाइम ऐसा भी कर सकते हैं कि शुरुआत कुछ सवालों से करें और फिर जो है चीजों को आगे बढ़ाएं.
नहीं बिल्कुल ये समय जो है गड़बड़ हम कर दे रहे हैं. पूरा समय इसी में निकल जा रहा है लेकिन पता नहीं. आई डोंट नो. आई विश टू मेक इट एक्सप्लिसिट बट थोड़ा गड़बड़ हो जाता है. लेकिन ठीक है.
ठीक है. अच्छा भी है कि मैथमेटिक्स करते समय समय का ध्यान न रहे और हम लोग जो है चीजें करते रहें और सीखते रहें. तो नेक्स्ट टाइम सोमवार को मंडे को हम सब फिर मिलेंगे 3:30 बजे. थैंक यू ऑल ऑफ यू फॉर पार्टिसिपेटिंग इन दिस वर्कशॉप. थैंक यू.